Welcome to the unprecedented time of the coronavirus. Yes, we now are living in a global pandemic unlike has been seen since 1918, which means there are very few, if anybody, watching this video who is actually alive at the time that it happened, because you'd have to be 102 years old. Now, I did see on the news that a 103-year-old woman has survived having actually contracted the coronavirus, COVID-19. She has lived through the entire life cycle of it, and she is well on her way to recovery at 103. She may be the only person who was actually alive at the time that the last global pandemic wiped out close to 50 million people.
Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and today I didn't really come to talk to you about the COVID-19 virus except in one aspect, and that is that there are a whole lot of people bemoaning the fact that, oh my gosh, there may be curfews. Oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to go hang out at Starbucks for hours on our spring break. We can't just go anywhere we want to and do anything we want to anymore, and our freedom has been restricted and our liberties are gone, and whatever happened to independence? It's amazing to me when I hear people, whether it's in the parking lot or the grocery store or on various forms of social media, arguing about our freedoms. We have freedoms, and yet they don't want to understand that there are sacrifices to gain freedoms. And because you're free to do something doesn't mean it's the best idea. Just because you have the liberty to do something doesn't mean it's the best idea. I looked up a couple of things in the thesaurus here, pretty fascinating to me, that they are so interchangeable, the words freedom and independence. As an example, it says, freedom, the little country will gain its freedom next year. Political independence, autonomy, self-determination, sovereignty, self-government, civil liberty, enfranchisement, emancipation, liberation, release, exemption from control. A second meaning, though, says, I like this jacket because it gives me more freedom, meaning the ease of movement, elbow room, latitude, scope, sweep, margin, range, play, swing, unrestricted use, wide berth. And the third one says, alone at last, they could now speak with freedom of the love of their openness, frankness, unrestraint, abandonment, absence, reserve, unreservedness, candor, unconstraint, informality, naturalness, bluntness, directness, forwardness, downrightness. And the fourth, it says, the teacher resented the freedom with which the student addressed her. Boldness, impudence, license, disrespect, rudeness, impertinence, impropriety, indecorum. Antonyms of freedom: dependence, restriction, bondage, servitude, slavery, serfdom, imprisonment, captivity, restraint, caution, reluctance, respectfulness, and decorum. See, I have a real problem when we start getting into the meanings of the words as they're applied today. Let me see what year this particular edition. This is the college edition thesaurus from Random House, published in 1987. Originally copyrighted in 1984, published in 1987. That would have been the same year I graduated from high school, so yeah, it's old. But the reality is there's a lot of application of these words where freedom can mean a lack of decorum, where freedom can mean a lack of respect, where freedom basically says, I can do what I want, I can say what I want, there are no constraints, there are no restrictions to me because I'm totally free. But see, there's a difference between freedom and reckless autonomy. Just because you're free to do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. There's a difference between freedom and independence. Independence says, not only do I have the opportunity to do it, no one's going to stop me, but I have the means to do it on my own. I don't require anybody else's assistance. See, it's one thing to say, I'm free to choose whatever I want to, but I need you to pay the bill. I'm free to do whatever I want to, but somebody else is going to have to cover me on the backside because I don't know how. I'm free to do whatever I want to, but if there's a price to be paid, somebody else is going to have to pay that price because I don't have what it takes to sacrifice to get it. Yes, our liberties have been infringed upon with this COVID-19, with the restrictions to daily life and the closing of restaurants and theaters and your local coffee shop. And I get that, and it's frustrating. Your daily life is going to be altered for a period of time until this is wiped out. But if it's not, then everyone could be wiped out. It's ironic to me the number of people who are upset about their lack of freedoms and liberties because of the changes in our culture, but they're not as concerned with the loss of life as they are with the loss of their temporary freedoms. Just because you're free to do something, just because you have the independence to do something, just because you have the liberty to do something doesn't mean it's the best thing to do. And I want to challenge you as leaders at every level, leading yourself, leading a small group, leading a large company. If you've reached the place where freedom basically means I can do whatever I want to, recklessly, without abandon, without concern for the outcome or the impact on anybody else's life, my friend, you have a skewed view of freedom. Freedom is a power, and like all powers, it comes with great levels of responsibility. Just because you're free to do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. Freedom, liberty, and independence, they are not interchangeable for reckless autonomy. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.